The other day, we had a conversation with the candidate of the APC in Bayelsa State, Timi Peresi. But tonight, let's get a sense of what is happening in the camp of the PDP. I'm being joined by the spokesperson of the PDP governorship campaign in Bayelsa State, Alfred Kemapada. Join us on the program tonight. Thank you so much, Alfred, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Are you guys ready for this election?
Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah. You heard what Mr. Silver said about the plans of the PDP trying to use the back door to find a possible way of disqualification on the APC candidate. Is that a tactic to use legal means by which similar to what happened the last time 4 years ago?
No, I don't know why anybody would describe our legal system as a backdoor. It's just the judiciary playing out what was presented before. It's no backdoor.
I mean, is your team looking at it as an easier way to win the election?
The easiest way to win the election is to win him at the polls. Because, Shehu, recall, we had elections in March this year. And before the elections, you remember that, of course, all states have the statutory 3 senators. The PDP had 2, the APC had 1. Bayelsa State has 5 House of Reps members. The PDP had 3, the APC had 2. I mean, before the February-March general elections. But because of the sterling performance of the current governor, effortlessly and seamlessly, now the PDP in the state has the 3 senators, they have the 5/5 House of Reps members, and other legislative seats in the state.
100%.
100%. So what it just tells you, like, it's a rehearsal, okay? You know, the efforts of the governor, not just in the area of infrastructure, but the efforts at unifying Bayelsas, uniting Bayelsas, and letting Bayelsas understand that our development comes before politics, irrespective of your party line, irrespective of your creed or your religion, has been able to endear Bayelsans to the governor. And if you want to talk about areas of infrastructure, the governor has done fantastically well. Don't forget that the governor came into governance at the time COVID just started. So he just had to change strategies. And one of the things he's been able to do is to try to open up the states to other economic opportunities. Because, you know, Bayelsa is a riverine state in the Niger Delta that sits on the various littoral opportunities. And by that, the governor has been able to take on projects that hitherto people think it will not dare except the federal government, trying to reach Bayelsa into the Atlantic Ocean. For example, the Brass Senatorial Road, a road that the previous governor, who was your guest here, had described in a public function, and everybody knows that it's not economically viable. The governor has taken on that road, and you know how much that kind of massive project and the impact it will have on the people of the Eastern Senatorial District where he comes from. So, and let me also tell you, Shehu, surprisingly, unlike the other aspirants who promise and fail, the governor is taking on even projects that he did not promise, such as this multi-billion naira Brass Road that is taking road to Brass. I followed him throughout his campaign in the first tenure. These were not things that were promised, but out of necessity, he's taking it. And these are not just mere projects. Sure, you understand our environment very well. Most times, we don't have road. You first create the road and construct the road on the road you have created. So the road going to Brass is actually on the Atlantic. It's actually going through the mangroves to the Atlantic Ocean. And it's not just a road. The plan is to reach out to Brass, make it a city, to take advantage of the littoral opportunities in the Gulf of Guinea. Considering the President Tinubu's mantra of reaping more funds for the country, the Gulf of Guinea has a potential of fisheries not less than $7.5 billion. So the governor is taking these things to ensure that Bayelsa no longer depends on just the federal revenue, but we now begin to generate and create the kind of economy in Bayelsa that will also contribute to the revenue of Nigeria. And that's same with what is going on in southern Nigeria, and of course the one going on in the Saboma-Ikirimo axis, going down to Agay, where we'll eventually have a seaport. So these are strategic projects.
Let me jump in quickly. And all of this that you describe the performance of the governor as sterling.
Yeah.
And how do you then explain the downward slope and the downward revision of the economy of the state, which is in the negative. And in the recent report by budget, in the State of the State report, Bayelsa State is the second state with the most dependency on federal allocation. It then means that with the meager resources the state is getting from IGR, it may find it difficult to survive without federal allocation. When you say Sterling, is economic performance part of your own indices for the performance of the governor?
You see, Shehu, one thing you must understand is governance is about being strategic. Like you have said, the Bayelsa state government is one of the governments that relies more on the federal allocation. And this governor, Senator Doyejiri, thinks it shouldn't be so.
Despite the fact that it's an oil-producing state,
you don't want to, hold on.
The wealth in terms of the resources, the waters around it, that could be wealth.
I'm coming now. You don't want us to go into that oil production factor, because if we go into that factor, we'll begin to go into the issues of how we have the oil wells in the Bayelsa. We have all the but the oil wells, but the revenue is scattered away by the federal government.
What about the derivation? The money that comes from oil to the oil-producing states.
Now, the oil.
What is it being used for?
Good. That's exactly what we are.
For those who describe and say, look, with all of this money that goes into Bayelsa State, nothing is visibly seen. How can your party, or does your party, the government of the day, explain to the Bayelsa people that is bringing governance to the people?
Within the past less than 4 years of Doyejiri, the monies that have been coming to the state, obviously, like the people of the state are applauded, are going into the visible projects that I have mentioned. Now, what I was trying to tell you is that governance is about strategy. So in order not to just depend on federal allocation, that is why the governor is not just taking on petty projects, but mega projects that will open the state to the blue economy, so that we can rake in more income, create more jobs, so that people, both the state and the people, can be less dependent on federal allocation. And that's the strategic approach of the government.
Let me give you some figures that doesn't make the government look good at a time. And some of the figures include the fact that at the moment, it's 9% of the about 2.5 million population of Bayelsa State is considered to be multidimensionally poor. Is the second highest rate among the 36 states of the Federation. Guess what? Amongst the states of the Federation, do you know that the unemployment rate in Bayelsa State is pegged as about 37%? It's even above the national average, which is a little above 30%. How do you explain the high unemployment rate and the level of poverty? Okay. The figure here is mind-boggling.
Okay, it's all right.
89% of the population.
Okay, 89%
described as multidimensionally poor in Bayelsa State.
Okay, it's all right, Shehu. If you let me answer, let me tell you something. Sometimes when we hear these statistics, we begin to wonder where the statistics is coming from. Like Bayelsa and like the Niger Delta, the problem with that region is that some people sit down in Abuja and other places and write reports without knowing nothing about the people. And I'll give you this. The statistics in the National Bureau of Statistics shows that of the states, okay, in the Niger Delta, apart from Edo State, Bayelsa State is the state that employs more. So I don't know how that reconciles with this, okay? And these are not just states, these are oil-producing states. And I don't know, even beyond statistics, if you get into Bayelsa, you have been there a couple of times. How could anybody tell you that 89% of the people are poor? If that is what, excuse me,
out of the 200 million, just a moment, out of the over 200 million Nigerians, statistics show that over 130 million are multidimensionally poor in Nigeria. In Bayelsa State, 89% is said to be multidimensionally poor.
But that's not true.
Do you have your own statistics?
Of course, I just gave you the statistic that the employment rate across the Niger Delta states, considering Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Ondo, Edo, all of them, Bayelsa, only Edo has more employment rate than Bayelsa. Bayelsa is the most employed. The statistic is there. National Bureau of Statistics.
Look at what is on the screen.
What's
Bayelsa State, it shows the performance of index. This is the budget.
Between you and I, Shehu, let me tell you something. Shehu, I just told you on set here that sometimes people sit down in places not knowing anything about our people. both in security reports and in economic reports, just write what is superfluously lie.
So you don't agree with the NBS report? You don't agree with the budget report?
I don't think you
don't agree with
what do you say?
These are the NBS report, the multinational poverty.
You mean the National Bureau of Statistics?
Yes, that's what the multinational report.
Hold on. That's why I asked you. But the NBS rated us as a second state with the highest rate of employment. So how does highest rate of employment reconcile with poverty? Doesn't make sense. But you see, Shehu, I just want us to rest on that. What is most important is that amidst the prosperity, amidst the employment that has been generated in the state now, the governor at the moment is opening up the state to more economic opportunities, has created the peace in the state. And of course, in discussing Bayelsa and other places, you can't talk about economic development anywhere without peace and the return of industries that will tick that economy. And that's what the governor is doing, and that's why the people are excited to go with him all along. You should be asking me the questions. What about the other aspirants? They were governors in the state for about 5 years. What did they put on ground? I heard one of their spokesmen talk about how during his tenure, that within his 5 years tenure, he received about 800 million naira. And it's just tickling my mind that at that time, the dollar rate was about 180 naira or less. So if you convert that money to today, at today's dollar rate, we are talking about a whooping sum of about more than 4 trillion naira. And there is nothing to show for over that money, that period. But within less than 3 years, you can see Governor Doyediri taking on mega projects that will bring economic prosperity to the state and unifying the state.
Let's wrap up now, Alfred. I mean, I'm asking these questions, and a lot of Bayelsans who are watching right now perhaps might be able to relate and be in their minds pondering on the issues that are important as they go to the poll. What gives you the confidence that this time around the issue of incumbency has even been a negative issue, because a negative effect on elections? In fact, where you think that an incumbent will get re-elected, it goes in the other direction. What gives you the confidence that this time around, Doyediri will be the choice of the Bayelsans?
Now, the acceptability of Doyediri is Catholic. It's known everywhere in Bayelsa. And like I said in my intro, okay, the last elections that took place, I told you, because of his sterling performance, almost all the seats were swept. But Shehu, the question I had even expected you to ask me again is that how come that while we are talking about the votes and how people can vote, others are on national TV reinforcing the fact that they are coming to Bayelsa to kill and maim people and throw them into the Brass River? I heard you interview the APC governorship aspirant here, and you took him on that, and he told you that the deputy governor who came out in the public to say that any person who comes to Brass or anything, kill him and throw him into the river is not fair to that. He was only talking about people who will come there and misbehave. So the question you will ask is, when did people who come and misbehave become a subject of their own killing? Are they taking laws into their hands? What I expect you to talk about is the deployment of adequate security in Bayelsa so that people can go about their peaceful elections, because the security of this election is not just about the election. Don't forget that post-election, the arms and thugs that are being purchased for election will become the remnants that will constitute the pipeline vandals, the militants, and the kidnappers. And that does not tie into Mr. President's agenda for a more peaceful Niger Delta, for an upward production of oil. It does not secure the Niger Delta. Those are the questions we should be asking. Why would, in this currently, where the Inspector General of Police said he has assumed office feeling like a lion, why would the Chief of Defense Staff, fine gentleman, said the terrorists that will terrorize Nigeria tomorrow should not live beyond today? Under their watch and under the watch of the DSS and everything, aspirants are threatening, and so you have fear
about security.
I have fear about the loss of life in the course of prosecuting an election, because Governor Doyediri, like all of us, and like the good Lord Jonathan said, no ambition is worth anybody's life. And this election, I tell you, is also, because I know President Tinubu to be a Democrat, it's also President Tinubu's opportunity and chance to restore the confidence of Nigerians in the electoral system. So these are the things that we should also talk about. But if you come to Bayelsa in terms of its performance in the area of education, infrastructure, everything, leave it. They will not win one local government.
Alfred Kemapada is a spokesperson of the Bayelsa PDP governorship campaign. Thank you so much indeed.
Thanks
and I
for
wish you
having me.
and your team and your candidate the very best. Thank you so much indeed.
Thanks for having me.